Hi everybody, I'm Tim from troutandfeather.com, and in this fly tying tutorial I'm going to share with you a fly called Cammisa Stealth Mode. With a name like that, I should probably keep it a secret, but there is no way I would do that to all of you. You're going to enjoy this one. Stay tuned. Here's a sneak peek at Cammisa Stealth Mode. This has been a great fly for me over the last couple of years. It's got something that may look a little bit unusual, and that's a hot spot, but it's near the rear of the fly. So it's just kind of a different spin on the notion of having a hot spot. It's something that's worked for me for a variety of fish, and it's an easy tie. So let's get a clean hook in the vise and start tying this one. In my Sonfo transformer vise, I have a Honic competition hook. This is their H450 BL. That BL designation stands for barbless. This is a jig hook. It's a size 14, though I'll tie this anywhere from a size 14 down to an 18. This Honic 450 is easily one of my favorite jig hooks. I love the wide gap in between the shank and the point. I love how the hook point kind of points up a little bit. I feel like it really secures fish. Being a jig hook, you can see how it's kind of pointed down near the eye. And I have that paired with a slotted tungsten bead from Hazard Fly Fishing. Its color is silver, and it's a 3mm bead, so it provides definitely some nice weight. Once you have this slotted bead on correctly, and you have this in the water, it's going to have a tendency to ride hook point up. Not all the time, but the majority of the time, which is going to help you get less snags. So another little reason to kind of lean towards these jig hooks. They're wonderful. The first thread that I'm going to put on, because there's two, is something that we call Glow Bright. It's Glow Bright number 1. It's kind of a fuchsia or a pink color. We're going to be using this as a hot spot. Now to kind of start things off, I'm going to take this thread and just jam it against the bead, make a few wraps, just to secure my bead in position. And be careful when you trim away the Glow Bright. It has a tendency to fray a bit. I'm just going to wrap down till about the middle point on my shank, and it's there where we're going to tie in our tailing fibers. These are going to be Coque de Leon fibers, otherwise known as CDL. The color is medium Pardo. What's nice about these, they have some great coloration, some great modeling, and they're also a very resilient fiber. They're very tough to break. So I'm going to pull away somewhere around 4 to 6 fibers. Don't get too crazy and start counting them or anything like that, but it's kind of the range I'm going for. And I want their length to be approximately the same length as the shank of the hook. So basically from where you see right now their tips to the bead, somewhere in there. So I'm going to line those up. Then I'll make 1, 2 relatively loose wraps. Ensure they're about the correct distance. If they're a little too long or a little too short, I can manipulate them right now because I don't have my thread really tightened. But I really like where they are, so I'm just going to tighten my thread and continue wrapping back with relatively touching wraps. Now when I get to the point where my barb would be, which is about right there on my hook, I just want to verify that the tails are kind of locked in the way I want them. I want to make sure they're really just sitting their best on top of the hook, going straight out. Looks like they're doing that. Now I'm just going to wrap back forward, again with touching wraps. When we get close to the bead, we can trim away the butt ends of those tailing fibers. Get a couple more wraps in there, and then go right into a whip finish. We're going to get rid of our Glow Bright. So we've just used the Glow Bright to kind of form the entire underbody in a sense, but we've already added a hot spot. Now most hot spots are by the bead. In this case, we're going to have kind of a rear hot spot, like a butt hot spot, if that makes sense. So next, let's continue on with our thread. I'm going to use some black uni thread. The size is 8/0. Just going to add this in here. And the first material I'm going to add is going to be UNI-French wire. The color is silver, the size is small. We're going to use this as kind of a ribbing material. Now the first thing I'm going to do is kind of jam it in place and get it locked in to the slotted bead. So I'm going to kind of use that as a holder. And then I'm going to start wrapping back with my thread, but I don't want to wrap back too far. I basically want to go back, and I'll try to give you my measurement here, right around where my thread, if it's hanging, it's just around the tip of the hook. Now be careful, these are really sharp tips, and it definitely can kind of fray your thread a little bit. But that's kind of the distance that I want whenever I'm thinking about my hotspot. So I kind of want it to just take up that back, kind of a third of the body, not counting the thorax. That's what I'm going for. I want to make sure that it's there, it's visible, but I don't want it to kind of overwhelm everything else with the fly. Once I have that in position, I'm just going to wrap forward, just a few wraps, and that's where we're going to tie in this UNI-Mylar. So it's this UNI-Mylar that's going to give this the stealth mode name, because if you're wondering, there's not a lot stealthy here. It's because of this really cool Mylar. I just love the look at this. It just gives a nice reflection, but not too much. The color is holographic black. The size is 12. If I had a size 14, it's a little bit of a thinner material, not as wide as this, but I do like this one. So I've tied up a couple wraps, and that's going to be my tie-in point for this. So I'm just going to grab a little bit, tie it in right there, and then wrap my black thread forward. Now, if I would have wrapped this, or if I would have locked this in closer to that uni wire, what happens, sometimes you create this really harsh point using this Mylar. But now by having it there, I can secure it, make one full wrap, and I'm going to actually wrap back towards my hotspot and really secure it and pull down, and now wrap back forward. And as you're wrapping, you can really kind of bear down on this. If you want to create more of a taper, you can just add a couple more turns up near the thorax, but I'm not too concerned about that. So I'll get 1, 2 thread wraps to lock it in place. Then I'll get one in front, then I'll kind of pinch it down the body. And when I let go now, it's kind of going in that direction. So I can pick it up, trim it away. And if you leave a little bit in there, don't get too concerned. It's going to get covered by our thorax. Now we're going to counter rib with our wires. We're going to counter rib to really help make sure everything is nice and secure in there. The only suggestion I have is whenever you're counter ribbing, try to make your spacing as kind of accurate as possible. You want really even spacing if it's possible. You can just verify it's looking pretty good right now. So to lock this in place, put one in front, couple wraps over this way. Then I can really hold down with my thread and just helicopter this way. All right, and finally we are kind of left with our last material. Grab your favorite peacock dubbing. Mine's by Siman. The color is peacock black. I've used this stuff over the years. Just wonderful stuff. It's just got a great look to it. I don't want a lot. I want just like a very fine amount on here. We're talking maybe a ½ of an inch for our dubbing noodle. Not much. Basically so I can get just a couple wraps around, and that's it. Then go right immediately to the front, and we can whip finish it away. Okay, once we have 5 in there, we're looking good. Whenever I cut my thread away, I'm going to kind of keep my scissors in my hand. I want to trim these fibers. I don't want them too long. I like those fibers in there, but I don't necessarily need them to create bugginess. I just want them to kind of just give it a thorax and make sure that it's a noticeable thorax. I can clean this up a little bit right now, but I'll basically just make a few cuts the whole way around. Make it so that you got a little bit of bugginess in there, but not so much that it overwhelms the fly. And now we're kind of just getting to the end of this stealth mode. So the last thing that I like to do is secure that hot spot back there, because it's a great hot spot, but that glow bright material, you saw it fray, and it's probably the one fragile spot on this fly. So what I like to do for this is just to grab either some head cement or your favorite UV resin. Mine is by Solaries. It's called Bone Dry. What I like about this Bone Dry is that it has this really great applicator brush. So I'm just going to get a lot of it off. I just want to touch it. I mean, we're just talking about a really minute amount of this UV resin. So once I have it on there, I'm just going to touch it a little bit on this side, a little bit on the top. And if I get too much, I can grab like a Post-it note, a piece of paper, or just my fingers, get it out of there. So I want just enough on there so it's going to help to protect that material. Grab your UV light. I want to hit it for approximately 10 seconds. That is the cure time. I'm not sure if the camera's picking it up, but man, you can really see that glow bright just really light up. And there we go. I'm sure that was around 10 seconds. If I didn't get quite 10, please don't count it on YouTube. But there is the look, or a look, at the finished Cammisa's stealth mode. It's a really great fly that's worked well for me. And now let's change the camera angle and talk just a little bit more about this pattern, both from a tying and from a fishing perspective. That's all there is to Cammisa's stealth mode. Before we go any further, I want to first say that if anyone knows of a similar fly that's being tied or was tied before me tying this one, please let me know its name, because I don't want to steal or take credit from anyone. In my mind, this fly pays homage to a lot of other flies, especially tinsel bodies, kind of like the lightning bug. There's a Lance Egan pattern out there as well, but I wanted to design a fly that almost was camouflaged but wasn't. Hence, I went with that Uni holographic black for the body. Just love that stuff in so many patterns. And then I wanted a rear hotspot, because that rear hotspot just almost says to the fish as it's coming down, you almost missed this fly, but you didn't. It's time to eat. And they really seem to like this one. Now, whenever I think about all the materials that go into this fly, I didn't overthink things. Now, you can change the body colors, you can absolutely change the wire, the bead, you can kind of play along with it, and especially that rear hotspot if you want to go with another color. But let me first just kind of talk about hotspots, because I really like to fish those on a lot of different flies, especially those that are nymphs. We're talking jig nymphs for the most part. And I look for ways to create contrasting combinations. So maybe pink and black. And I love to really just have that hotspot jump out. So if you can do that, by all means, add them to your fly. Get creative on where they are. A lot of people simply put them behind the bead. You can see in this pattern, it's the very rear of the hook. So just kind of think to yourself, how else can you make something contrast and stand out? And I guarantee you'll come up with something really cool. Now, whenever it comes down to fishing this one, it's a really simple one for me. I love to fish this pattern in a variety of water types. I'll fish it riffles, pools, it doesn't seem to matter. The fish really seem to like it. I'll change the size, and I tend to go anywhere between sizes 14 to 18, and I'll fish this on some type of a European tight line method. So I kind of go with that style of rig. I tend to fish this one by itself, so I don't double it up. Maybe I'll fish this one as the point fly, then I'll have a small dropper like a zebra midge or Jake's improved zebra midge up a little bit higher. But I just love to fish this one. Fish it in the wintertime and in the springtime. I really haven't experimented with it too much during the summer, but it really also depends with the insects. If I know there's a lot of dark caddis in the water, I fish this one and have success with it too. Even though I wouldn't say it's a caddis representation or it's an imitation of a caddis, it seems to work for them. But experiment, see if it works in your local waters. I hope you like it. I hope you like that it's kind of stealthy, but that rear hotspot is by all means that giveaway for it. Well, thank you everyone for viewing this fly tying tutorial. If you'd like to watch more like this, you can check out my website, which is troutandfeather.com. If you are interested in jig nymphs, click videos, then go to nymphs, and then I have a special page dedicated to nothing but jig nymphs. I hope you love tying them. I just love them because they tend to ride hook point up. They're a little less likely to snag, and the fish just seem to respond to that style of method. So I'm sure you're probably already tying them, but if not, check them out. You'll definitely enjoy them. You can also find Trout and Feather on Instagram and on Facebook. And I got to give a special shout out. There are so many of you that will just share my videos on Facebook. You'll reshare all of my posts and that type of stuff. So for all of you doing that, thank you so much. It means the world to me to know that I have the support of so many people, not just on YouTube, but also in these other realms of social media. That may not seem like a big deal, but trust me, it really is. So I thank you ahead of time for any of that. Just tag me, just so I know that you're doing it too, because I don't know. I'm not gonna lie, it means a lot to me. Thank you so much. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them down below in the comment section of this video, or you can email me at tcammisa@gmail.com. Once again, thank you so much, and I'll see all of you soon.